What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Power Rankings Guys, ranking anything and everything Survivor Michigan. I'm Paul. I'm here with Joe.
Hello, everyone.
And we are in mourning.
Yes, that was not a very exciting greeting.
No.
I've been dreading having to do this because I've been very sad
No.
for a very long time.
Ugh.
I don't even know what to do.
Ugh. This is bad.
So tough.
This is the darkest timeline.
Yes.
Truly. Ugh.
Camilla's gone.
She's gone.
Camilla's gone.
This is a nightmare. This is a discussion I did not want to be ever having.
No.
I was looking forward to discussing Camilla when she won the game.
Mm-hmm.
Jury sweep, took all the votes, beating Matthew and Jack and Eliza in the first ever Final Four. I am, as our British friends say, absolutely gutted.
Yeah. I don't know even where to start with this. Like, I loved the way that they did the swap.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really cool, especially like combining the two groups. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I feel like I don't know. I don't even know who to blame this on. Like, should Camilla have fought harder to not be in that two? Should Jack have fought harder for her not to be in that two?
Yes to both.
Yeah.
Yes. Both of those things should have happened.
Right. It was just very tough to watch.
It was very tough to watch because it felt inevitable. Like, it felt like this was where we were going. And even the couple times we had faked a little bit towards maybe it's Katie, maybe whatever, mm-hmm. It just always felt like this was the direction it was going. And it was just so sad.
Yeah. Maybe she used up too much of her charm on her original tribe and just...
I know.
Once she got over there, it was just not effective on anyone.
No, once she set up Jackson and Megan, so she couldn't flirt with Jackson. Mm-hmm. Dale is married. Her charm did not work on Matthew, so it was a lost cause. And we are so sad.
Ugh.
Talk about a pre-merge fallen angel. One of the all-time pre-merge fallen angels.
Yeah, we need to see her back at some point.
Yes. Absolutely have to, must have,
mm-hmm.
any version we can get her back on our screens. We are totally signing that petition.
Yes.
So we love her. We love her so much. We are sad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But besides that, besides our complete and utter despair, we are now at Final 11.
Yeah.
We have 3 returners and 8 newbies. 3 returners and 8 newbies, math. As you can tell, I would have been on the theater and music starting for, not the STEM starting for. Yeah. And I still feel like, where are we? Like who? Like, how is this end game gonna shape up? I'm very excited.
Yeah, and I think that's what I think this. I don't know if this happened last week or 2 weeks ago. Like, it was very tough for me. Even still, in my 5 spot, I have 2 names with question marks next to them, and I think this is at least the second time that this has happened.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is a good thing. I think we keep saying every week, like, it's not cut and dry. It's not like, oh, this one person is standing out or these 2 people are standing out. Like, it's been very, I don't know, things shift every week. And I think that's what's making the season really great. Like, yes,
mm-hmm.
we're losing some, great people early, but
mm-hmm.
there's still a lot of great people left in. And that's making our jobs tough, or at least mine. Because, like, I think I said this before we started. Like, even still looking at my list, I'm like, I'm doubting, should this person be in number 1? Should this person be in number 5? So mm-hmm. I'm excited to get into all that. But again, I think that's just a testament to the season. Like, people's games can change week to week. And I guess if it's making our job tough, that's probably a good thing.
I think it's a really good thing. I'm currently rewatching Survivor Amazon,
Mm.
and like Survivor Amazon is a season where a lot of big players make the merge, like, and a lot of players with interesting relationships with one another make. And so, like, as I'm watching this season, I'm thinking like, oh yeah, like this is definitely another season where like a lot of big players with complicated relationships are gonna make the merge, and there's a lot of people I think who are at this point, and we saw them discussing it this week, antsy to get some blood on their hands.
Right. Yeah. If we see a merge in another episode or two, it's going to be, I don't even know what's going to
Like
happen.
these Tokidoki people are ready to fight.
Yeah.
They are ready. They've had one boot. It was basically unanimous. And then those who were on the this week, for them was a pretty straightforward vote again. When with the personality on that tribe, especially those four that are now on the tribe of the four of them and Katie, Matthew, Eliza, Dale, and Jackson, that is a powder keg. Whether they do one more tribal council before merge or whether they merge next week, that is about to explode.
Yeah. Yeah. It would actually be, as a viewer, if they stay in tribes, I would actually kind of rather them lose again.
Yes.
Because who the heck knows? Like, it would just be interesting to see like who comes out on top from that four.
I feel like there's no way Katie goes in that situation.
No, absolutely not. Which was actually a good thing for her. So
yeah.
But yeah, should we get? Even though I have to literally choose my number 5 person on the spot, but
that's always
shall
fun.
we get to it? Yeah,
let's do it.
Why don't you go first?
I had a really tough time picking a number 5 because I actually had a tough time picking all my numbers. But especially this number 5, I decided to go with Shannon.
Okay. She was one of the 2 I have here with a question mark.
Okay, good. I like where Shannon is. I feel like even if her tribe were to lose another tribal council, I feel like she's fine. Like, I'm not worried about her at all. I feel like in a merge scenario, if it does turn out to be this kind of powder keg blow up, I feel like she's totally fine. In fact, I feel like people would be fighting for her vote.
Yeah.
And I think she's the kind of player that could make like a sneaky deep run in the right scenario. Like if she gets in with the right people, I think maybe even almost like a Natalie Anderson, like in San Juan del Sur, like maybe like a quiet pre-merge, and then lets the big targets blow each other up, and then kind of sneaks in there and finds herself a win. I think that's a possibility for Shannon. So I snuck her in. I think she's got options, and I always like options.
Yeah. That's good. I agree with that. I'm going to make her my number 5 too.
Okay.
I had her and one other person, but well, first, I loved the cutscene of her going back in time, like more and more upset about ending up on a tribe with Kat and Ivy. I thought that was so funny.
So good.
She's just such an interesting character. I love it. But yeah, I agree. I think she's not in a bad spot on that other tribe. It's 3-3, but I feel like, it'll be interesting if they stay in tribes and they do lose. Like, is it just that Ivy brings Nate over and the 4 of them vote together? Like, I could also see Shannon possibly trying to make her own move over there to do something different. We know she's not a big Cat fan. Like, would she be willing to do something there? So, yeah, I agree. I think she has a lot of options, and I think it was actually good for her to end up on that other tribe. Plus, I think she was one of the people that kind of like keyed in on that. Like, oh, it's interesting that like Dale, Matthew, and Jackson like wanted to stay together, and then Eliza too. So she's kind of like putting the pieces together about like who truly. I mean, I think she even said she wasn't in a good spot on her original tribe anyway.
Yes.
But I think the way that this all shook out, I think kind of confirmed that for her and like where her placement was. So I think getting out of that situation was good. And yeah, I agree. I think she could. There's so many other bigger shields and targets that she could easily slip through the next 3-4 tribals without her name even coming up. So I think that's a really good spot to be in. I think, even just her being on a tribe with new people, maybe she can forge some relationships there. Will she get closer to Kat now that she's like kind of on a tribe with her? I don't know if we've really seen her and Ivy together much. So yeah, I think she benefited from this swap majorly.
Yes.
So I'm happy to have her on the list.
Totally. I totally agree. I am excited to see if Shannon emerges. I think she's in a spot to do so. And the last person we said that about was Megan. And so you see how that all panned out. So,
right.
All right. So who is your number 4 then?
I had Ivy.
Okay.
So
once again, Ivy did not make my list, but she was my alternate number 5.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's so interesting with this whole Ben situation, and I know we talked about it last week. Like, we haven't seen anything necessarily like negative happen from all of that. She's now on a tribe with Nate. So again, I think if they were to lose or if they would have lost in this last episode, I think Nate just goes with the 3 girls. So I think Ivy's connection to him is a good thing. So again, I think it's still just kind of like Ivy question mark. It's like what's like her long-term goal? But she was already willing to cut out Ben, who she knew and had a relationship with. But it's like, is the her and Nate thing now too obvious where they will just get in a situation where they'll just be like, one of them will be picked off because of that.
Yeah.
But again, kind of like in a similar situation with Shannon, it's like there's a lot of bigger targets. So it's like they could technically be kind of overlooked for a while and they could kind of slip through the cracks a little bit. So I don't know. I think I have her on my list because I'm just intrigued. I want to see where her game goes. And again, I feel like the swap for her was also benefited her game, getting away from, the Eliza, Matthew, Jackson, Dale situation. So yeah, I had her at number 4.
Yeah, I think that's a good spot for her. I had Nate in my number 4 spot.
Okay, cool. I don't have him on.
I think this swap was the most perfectly timed for Nate. I think he needed it the most, even more than Katie. I think Nate needed the swap the most.
Yeah.
He ended up with Ivy. Even if they lose, he's totally fine because I think he won't be the target of those 3 girls. And obviously, Megan and Jack need him. So he's with Ivy and with Megan, which I think is a great spot for him. I think he's another one of those players who, like we said with Shannon, and like you said with Ivy, is not the biggest target. But I think we saw last episode that he's good. Like he can play. He's definitely got it in him. He was just in a bad situation. And now that El Norte doesn't, or old El Norte doesn't exist anymore, like it was like he got a fresh day 1 start in the game. And I think this new tribe is much better for him. I think he's going to be able to build relationships. I can see him getting along with somebody like Shannon because I think he was the one that called Kat a not so nice name after the watermelon challenge that I'm not going to repeat on or off the podcast. So I think that they can have that mutual bond of we don't like Kat. That I think will totally work out for them. And at the end of the day, in a merge situation, who's coming for Nate?
Right.
Nobody.
Yeah.
So it's like, why not Nate? Why not Nate have yourself a good week and then just see what happens. Just start over again. So I'm feeling good about Nate.
That's good. I like that. I think he definitely would have. He probably sat at number 6 on my list, so that totally makes sense. And yeah, he definitely benefited from the swap as well, like you mentioned. So yeah, I think for him, again with me, it's kind of like I'm very interested to see where his game goes. In the next couple episodes. So
definitely one to watch for sure. All right, so number 3.
These next 3, like, I have no idea. It was like I could put them in. I don't know. It was I even watched the episode twice, and I was just like, I don't know who's in the best spot and who's not. But I put Dale.
Okay. I have Dale in my number 2 spot. So
okay, cool. So very close.
So let's talk about Dale.
I think that he's probably, maybe besides Eliza, probably in the best spot of that 4 coming out of this episode. So I think that's why I put him. Well, that doesn't make sense because I'm looking at. Okay. Well, he's in a good spot. I'm looking at my list.
No, that's why I put Dale at number 2, not why you put Dale at number 3. Stop stealing my notes.
No, I mean, he has the idol, so I think that's great. I think that, I think, being the 3 guys being able to not be one of the people to go over to the other side, I think was a great thing. So like props to the 3 of them for just, letting that happen. And obviously Matthew was like, hey, I was in a situation like this before and it didn't work out. Like, get me out of the running to be, go into that other side. But I don't know. I think I want to say maybe like with what Jack did, which again, I have whatever. I see these could all be moved around. But anyway, I think he's in a good spot because I think eyes were kind of on other people besides him. And I think if they stay in tribes and this tribe loses again, I don't think he's at the top of the list to be taken out. So we'll go with that. And that's why he's at number 3.
Yeah.
And also,
I'm
because
totally
he has
with
an
you.
idol, here's the thing too. If that tribe loses, there's only 5 people. I feel like unless he was just super overconfident or super like cocky to not play it, like it would depend on how chaotic the week was. Like, let's say they lose again. It's just so chaotic. Like everyone's trying to get Katie to vote with them. Like, they want to try to make a move on someone. Like, you would hope that if there was even some doubt in his mind that he would play the idol and be safe.
Yes.
So that's always good to have, especially in a small tribe like that, if they stay in tribes, and especially if that tribe loses. So
yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, that's all the reasons I put him at number 2. I think if this Jackson and Matthew thing looks like it's going to blow up, like maybe it is, I think Dale's probably still in a good spot. And then on top of that, he has his idol. And I think especially if Shannon is looking to do something else, I don't think she's going to target Dale first because I think they have a relationship that's better than her relationship with anybody else on that side.
Right.
And again, it sounds like I'm pointing this out, but age brings a certain amount of wisdom and like clarity, I think, when you play. And so I think what you said about the idol is so true, is I think that kind of cockiness, like I think he has less of it than some of the other players, especially some of the younger players. And so I don't see him holding on to an idol in a situation where he feels at all in danger.
Right.
Like I think he is going to be, I've said from the beginning, I think he's going to have a quick trigger with the idol, just personality wise. That's how he strikes me. So I feel really, really good about Dale this week. I'd had him slipping the last couple weeks on my rankings, but this week I was back on the Dale train for sure.
Nice.
So my number 3 was Jackson.
Okay. Interesting. Yes.
Okay. Did he make your list?
He did.
Okay. Interesting.
and I'm doubting it a little bit because of what I just said, but I had him at number 1 for some reason.
Ooh, interesting.
But why is he at number 3 for you?
And
I think I know the answer, but
yes. Because it's exactly kind of what we just discussed is I feel like Jackson is making himself a target a little bit. And I just don't like that aspect of his game. I still think he's a good player and I still think he's in a pretty good spot overall.
Yeah.
But if this is on its way to blowing up, I don't see how Jackson can survive long term. Like at some point, somebody is going to take the shot at him, and he doesn't have an idol. He has Megan sort of, but is Megan really going to go back on Jack to pick Jackson? I don't think so.
Right.
Is Megan even going to go back on Nate to pick Jackson? Maybe, but I think that's shaky. I think his relationship with his returners is shaky now. And so I just don't. I am worried about him. I still think he's a really good player, and I still think he's in a good spot for a little while. But I just don't. Can he make it all the way?
Right.
And my answer to that is probably not, but maybe. I don't know. But you put him at number 1, so tell me about that.
I don't know. I think I want him to recover from the week.
Okay.
So it's kind of like I don't know, a good luck here. Even though, who was in my number 1 spot last week?
Megan.
Maybe. Oh, it was. Okay. Yeah, I appreciated the move to reach out to Katie when they were trying to do the buddy system and not speak to either of them. So I liked that, but I think, and I don't even remember how it did that. I don't know if Katie had mentioned it or he just told people. So at least I appreciated that move of well, especially if we're gonna vote out Camilla, Katie's still going to be here. So let's try to get her on my side in some way. And especially she was blindsided at the last vote. It's not like she's going to go running back to Jack and Megan. So I liked that aspect of it. I didn't like that kind of more eyes were on him because of that. And his target kind of grew. I actually think his relationship with Megan will actually end up helping him more.
Okay.
Even though I guess Jack knows that Megan's been meeting with him, but does anyone on his original tribe know?
Maybe not.
So I don't know why Jack wouldn't have mentioned that to any of the returners, but I think, so I don't know. I think it's one of those things where it's maybe he's in a better spot than we think. And that's why I kept him at number 1. But as I was writing it, I was I really should knock him down at least 1 or 2 because of his target getting bigger because of this episode. But I don't know. I just didn't do it. So yeah, again, I'm kind of interested. And I think with the revelation of which I also thought was a really cool thing. And we'll probably be talking about this very soon because this person was kind of involved in leaking that information. But I think with the Eliza, Matthew, Jack trio, more people knowing about that, I feel at least the returnees' targets will always be bigger than any of the newbies.
Probably true.
So he can maybe benefit from that situation.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think part of it also is I like Jackson. I think he's great on screen. And so I am also with you in the sense of I'm always kind of rooting for characters like that to make a deep run. Because he's just interesting and he's fun and he's funny and he's the kind of person I like to watch on Survivor because he's kind of cocky and, whether he goes all the way or, blows up, either way, it'll be entertaining.
Right.
So what's not to like?
Yeah. Definitely agree.
Alrighty. So I'm going to take a wild stab and say your number 2 is my number 1.
Yes.
Queen Megan. I love Megan.
I do too. And I think even the whole situation, which I loved, where she told Jackson about I forget the whole line of thinking. It was, did she tell Jackson that Jack met with Eliza and Matthew,
Mm-hmm.
which then in turn hurt Camilla because she's close to Jack. So
Mm-hmm.
then they're
There
going
was
to take out
something
Camilla
like that. Yeah.
because she's close to Jack, who's also close to all the returners. So like that whole, like, I don't think that hurt her.
No, I think it was great for her.
I do too. And even on my second rewatch, I was like, wait, was this a bad thing? And I was like, I don't think it was. So like I could have easily put Megan at number one, and I probably should have. Um, I don't know. I just think it's like she's able to make these moves, and some of them could even be considered like mistakes, but I'm putting that in quotes because it's like it's not actually a mistake because everything that
Mm-hmm.
she's been doing has been helping her. But it's like I think she's just able to like recover from these situations where people might be mad or whatever, but it's just like I think everything that she's doing is like it's really helping her game. And I think again, mentioning like her connection to Jackson, like I think that's going to end up paying off.
Mm-hmm.
And like they're both meeting, they're sharing information. Maybe she's giving up more information than he is, but still like I think that's, whether that's on purpose or not, it's at least showing Jackson that he can trust her in that
Mm-hmm.
way. She's still got Jack, and with Camilla out, I would assume Jack is going to gravitate more towards Megan.
Yep.
So it's like, I don't know. I think Megan emerged last week and she's still like flying high over everyone else. So even though I have her at number 2, she could have easily been number 1 for me.
I totally agree. I was honed in exactly on something where now this second week in a row, I was watching worried, like with this Jackson and Megan thing, is it Megan giving up all the information and Jackson kind of like playing her, whatever? 2 weeks in a row, the person that has gone home has benefited Megan the most.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said it last week with Ben, I think that vote benefited Megan the most. It's the same thing because I think it cuts off options for Jack. I think it even in a way cuts off options for Jack. To kind of, because Jackson kind of was like, oh, meeting with Katie, and then was like, oh, should we make this big move against Matthew? But like, I don't think he can do that without Megan.
Right.
I don't think Jack can keep going without Megan. I think Megan and Nate still have some kind of relationship. Because Megan, that was what I liked was after the tribal council, Megan being like, and Nate being like, oh my God, they voted for me.
Right.
And so instead of focusing on like, hey, Megan, why didn't you tell me who we were voting for? It was like, can you believe they voted for you? Like, I thought that was really good. And I think it goes back into that Mallory thing where early we were like, is she this or is she just kind of like, I think she knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
I think she is playing super well. I think she's playing especially with all these returners and Jackson and Dale and even the Kat and Shannon rivalry and stuff. I think subtle play is huge. I couldn't be higher on Megan's game. I am a believer. I am a true believer in Megan. I am so excited for Megan and Emerge to keep kind of making all this stuff. I'm just pumped. I am so high on Megan right now, truly.
No, I agree. I think I'm whiting out my picks right now, and I'm putting her in the top spot if that's allowed. But no,
see, I did the same thing the top last week, and I was like, no, it should have been Megan. And so now we're both talking each other into Megan on consecutive weeks.
Right. But no, yeah, I agree with all that. I think it's almost like she'll like do something and you'll almost want to cringe, but then you're like, wait a second, no, like this is actually turning out to be a really good thing. So it's just like I don't know if you see that a lot in Survivor. So it's like I think that's what's interesting about it too, is like and again, it was kind of like she necessarily wasn't on our radar like as a big game player at the start. So now it's kind of like, wait a second, like Megan is playing the game. Like she's putting her foot down on situation. She's collecting information from both sides. She's choosing when to, reveal certain things. And yeah, like we said, like even losing Camilla, I think that doesn't really hurt her that much. I mean, and especially telling Jackson about the three. I loved when she was like questioning Jack too, and it was like, "Oh, have you talked to Matthew?" And then she was like, "Have you talked to Eliza?" And then she was like, "Are you guys meeting all together?" Like it was just that was so fun to watch. And then I think putting that doubt in Jackson's mind about Matthew and Eliza, like I think that's gonna planting that seed. I think is gonna really help too. So yeah, I agree. I'm very excited to see what happens come emerge with like where she goes from here because I don't know. I think yeah, I think she's in a great spot.
Totally agree. Okay, so let's get to the returners. This was as tough, if not tougher, than ranking the new players. This was quite a week for the returners.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how you did it.
So for my number 3 spot, I had Jack this week.
I did too.
So sad.
Yeah, it was very strange doing that.
Every time we move Eliza out of the top spot, she says no. And whoever
Right.
yeah, it's not good. But yeah, and it's not really through any real fault of Jack's. I just don't I don't know. Losing Camilla is so bad for his game because, like we said when we talked about Megan, it just cuts off so many of his options.
Right. And yeah, and again, it's not anything he did necessarily. And I almost wonder, I literally just thought of this just now, but I'm like, I'm wondering if he was one of the two. I feel like Eliza and Matthew would have saved him. Like if it would have been like him and Katie or him and Nate, like I think he would have been fine. And then Megan and Camilla would have been fine on the other side. So I don't know. Again,
it's like it's so tough because I get not wanting to take that risk for sure.
Right. And
like at that point in the game, I totally understand his decision, but it is like there is a sense of like, okay, was there something he could have done? Could he have like Jordan Schubeled the situation when he saved Sabrina and like sent Camilla a title or something, or anything like? That's kind of was my thought. It's like, is there something he could have done? Anything? I don't know. So it's not, again, it's not a knock on Jack, and I still think he's in a pretty good position. I would sort of worry about him if his tribe lost. Like if they stayed in tribes and his tribe lost, I would sort of worry about him because I would worry about those 3 girls and Nate just being like, boop, we gotcha. We're going to take the shot while we have it. But during that, I don't know. He's still probably in an all right position, but compared to the position he was in just a week ago in the brilliant, masterful play we saw from him last episode, this is a hit. This is definitely a hit, and it's like, is this the start of a ball rolling down the hill, or is this like a motivation for him to really lock in and really start playing even better Survivor?
Right. And I think he's the player to do that. I think he has the capabilities of being like, okay, I'm not in the best spot right now. I just lost an ally. Like, what else do I need to do? Can I make any new connections? Like, so I think in the situation that he's in, I think he's the person to be able to get himself out of that. And again, like, I feel like we say with so many people, it's like, I'm going to be very interested to see what he does do.
Yes.
So it's like, so yeah, not a knock on his game necessarily. Just it's more of a situational thing. But it was very strange putting him in the last spot.
I totally agree.
I'll have to say. So
we shall see.
Yeah,
we shall see what happens to Jack. I'm thinking like maybe like a blood versus water Tyson thing, where like it's the second time I've made a Tyson comparison on the podcast this season. But like, you know, where Rachel goes like pre-merge and Tyson's all sad about it, but then he like bucks up and really plays some great Survivors. So maybe Jack has that trajectory. Maybe everybody is just blood versus water Tyson this season. Everybody. All right. So you're number 2 in the middle spot.
Matthew.
Me too. Yes.
Yeah, I think I think he made the right move by staying in the majority.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was perfect, and he had the perfect out, like we mentioned before. Like, hey, I did this before; it was bad. I'm staying regardless. So I think that was a pretty easy decision. Um, yeah, it's. I think he's in a pretty good spot. It's just going to be again this four, and just kind of the information that's come out and the Jackson thing. It's just again, it's like a big question mark of just again, if they stay in tribes and they lose again, what's going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like let's say Jackson and Katie and Dale try to do something. Like, would they try to go for Matthew first? Would they try to go for Eliza? Would something else happen? So, um, I mean, yeah. So I don't know. He's in an interesting spot for sure. So
Yeah, I think he's right on like the balance of like something is probably about to blow up. How is he going to come out of that?
right.
And when I look at skill sets, I mean, Matthew is such a skilled player. He's one of those strategists that sees something from every angle. So
Yes.
I definitely have faith in his abilities.
Right.
And it's not, I mean, when you think about how we went out in season 1 in such like a contrived, crazy, all these idols, like that's not going to happen this time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, knock on wood, I say that, God forbid.
Yeah,
but,
right.
it's with the makeup of the game right now, yes, he's in a situation that maybe it could flip 3-2 or maybe not, even if they have another challenge, which who's to say that they will.
Mm-hmm.
In a merge situation, I still think he's in an all right position because I think there's just a lot of moving parts
Right.
on both tribes, and I think Matthew's the kind of guy who can make that work for himself. So I like his game, but I think it's in a precarious spot. If he can survive, I'll say the next 2, maybe 3 tribal councils and get down to a place where he's like at 8, I think he is the most dangerous person in the game if you let him run late.
Right. And we want to see him make the merge. We are putting that out into the universe. It's going to happen. I have a feeling he's going to get to knock that off of his bucket list. Yeah, and it's interesting too because we haven't really seen much of him with like Shannon or Ivy or Kat or even Megan or Nate. So like there's a lot of people that we haven't seen him with. I think he's kept like his alliances pretty close to the chest. So yeah, I would be interested with him at a merge. Like, does he, grow his connections? Does he kind of just stick with his core people? But yeah, like you said, I think he's definitely the player to do that. And we know he's running scenarios, and we know he has whiteboards and charts and Google Sheets, if that was a thing by this time.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I think he's, again, as we keep saying, like he's in one of those spots where it's like he's at that crossroads. So it's like, does he make it to the merge and make a deep run, or does something else happen? So,
and I think they have to be getting right close to the airing of his boot episode, which I think we said from the beginning will be good for him.
Right. That's true. And we didn't really hear much from that.
Which is good.
I think, which is good. Yeah.
So yeah, not talking about the Lion or Boston Rob is good.
Right.
So yeah, I think we're on the same page there. And so that leaves us, we have this exact same conversation every other episode where it's like, well, we're never moving her out of number 1 ever again, which we know. And then we move her out of number 1. And then inevitably next week, we have to correct our mistake and say, Eliza is back to number 1. We're sorry we doubted you, Queen.
Yes. Yeah, I think...
Yeah.
I think of the returners, she's definitely in the best spot. I think that... I feel like especially the 3 guys, Dale, Jackson, and Matthew, are just going to be seen as a bigger target of the 4 of them. I think that of the returners, I could see Jack or Matthew kind of being looked at. Like, I feel like one of them would go before her if it was
Yes.
any of the three. And it's just like, you just want to work with her. So it's like, you know, I think once, and again, it's like you kind of forget, like you can, you know, people can meet cross tribes, but Aliza in a merge with an idol, watch out.
Yes. I totally agree. Because you never hear Jackson and Dale being like, oh, that tricky Aliza, we got to watch out for her. Like, you never hear them talking about. You don't really hear anybody talking about her that way, except maybe like Jack and Matthew a little bit. But even then, they're way more worried about each other than they are about her.
Right.
So I definitely think, like you said, Aliza making a merge with an idol, I think something crazy would have to happen for her not to make a very deep run. And she is definitely smart enough to get to the end and say, ta-da, like, I did it. Like,
right.
I think at that point, you have to really, I mean, depending on who she's there with, of course, and it's still early to be talking about endgame scenarios, but depending on who she's there with, you have to give it up to her. You knew what a threat she was. Or get there. Congratulations.
Right. And bonus, she got Ben's blessing.
Yes.
So that's huge.
Huge.
So it's like, I think, and now that, I mean, there was only two of them, but now that she's the one person from that season, like, I think that's going to motivate her even more to go far. And even she said, she was like, I don't want to go out early merge. Like, I got to get further than that. So I think she has the motivation to go far. I think she's a savvy player. I think, especially if they merge, I feel like she'll be able to position herself well. And also, I mean, a lot of the connections by now are pretty obvious. So it's like, I think if she can just get with the right group of people and just make sure she has 1, 2, 3, 4 targets ahead of her, especially at the merge, I think, yeah, Aliza goes really far. Knock on wood.
Knock on wood. I totally agree. I am so excited. This is really one of those seasons where it's like, I feel like every episode, I don't really have much of an idea what's about to happen. And so you just go in and it's made this season so fun to watch. I mean, obviously we shout out the editing every week, which I think is, again, this week, just magnificent. The storytelling, so fun. Everybody's on their toes. People are excited. I'm excited. I am super ready every Wednesday to be like, okay, what's next? Who's going next? What is going to happen? Somebody clue me in. Somebody, and it's great. So I couldn't be any higher where we are at this point of the season.
Yeah, it gets better and better every episode. I mean, we lose really great people.
Yes.
But as we keep saying, like, there's so many good players. So it's like we might lose some tough ones on the way, but then there's like so many others to look forward to. So it's like not even, I think that makes a great season. I think that makes a great cast where there's so many people to root for. It's been such a strong season. I mean, the last couple boots have been really tough. But, it's right. Going in not knowing at all what's going to happen, which I guess, I mean, you could probably say that about a lot of the seasons, but especially this season, for some reason, it definitely stands out where it's just like somebody could be playing a great game in one episode, and then the next episode, it's a complete switch around. So I think that definitely makes it fun. You really just never know what could happen, what twist could be thrown, and somebody makes one little move and then Megan finds out about it and tells someone, and it sets this whole domino effect into play. So
you do one little thing and then Megan decides out and then you get voted out. That's what happens.
Exactly. Right. So it's been really fun. Do we think a merge is coming next week, or do you think they'll stay in tribes one more time?
I don't know. I love the classic merge at 10, but also I think the merge portion of this game is going to be so chaotic
Yeah.
and so nuts that I am very, very antsy to get these people all together playing as one big. See who Megan decides to go home next week.
Exactly. It's Megan's world, and they're just living in it.
Exactly. And who could ask for anything more than that? No wonder we're having so much fun.
Right.
Alrighty. Another episode of the Power Rankings, guys. We're so excited to still be here with you. As always, I'm Paul. I'm here with Joe. We're having a great time, and we will see you next week.
Bye, everyone.